Dating website offering the opportunity to find a second wife or a husband. Despite bigamy being illegal in Britain, the service has already attracted a lot of attention. RT's Issa Ali has more now from London.
When one wife just isn't enough, now Brits can simply log on for their next nuptials. Although it's open to anyone, secondwife.com targets the country's Muslim men with a verse from the Quran which approves multiple marriages. The site's founder says he's trying to challenge traditional attitudes.
If you were to have a one-night stand, or visit a prostitute, or have multiple girlfriends or mistresses, or go on pornographic websites or strip clubs, nobody would have an issue with it. What I'm actually doing is I'm actually removing the taboo. I believe polygamy is the last remaining human taboo. We've explored every other relationship. This one actually works.
Azad says there's a similar website for non-Muslims and it's got thousands of members. As for polygamy's pros and cons, here's what Londoners say.
I think that that's a better way to go about approaching a situation like that as opposed to having an affair behind closed doors.
I am not personally opposed to it, but I wouldn't be particularly happy if that was my husband.
It's a good idea, but it's not money, you know. If you have like more than 2 wives or 3 wives, you need to must have a house or good money.
I'm very happily married, and I wouldn't be if there was a second wife, and I would certainly not be looking for a second husband, I think.
And I'm about to get married and wouldn't really like it if my fiancé was using a website called My Second Wife.
Gosh, I think it's hard enough being married to one woman, isn't it? Why would you want to double your trouble?
Polygamous marriages are not legally recognised. Polygamy can lead to an imbalance in the dynamic of the relationship. That can be anything from who does the cooking to which wife he's having relations with, which wife he chooses to see.
I tried to log on to the website for purely journalistic purposes, of course. It seems that the website has come under some sort of hack attack, maybe by a very unhappy first wife.
And with an estimated 20,000 polygamous marriages among Britain's Muslims, wives who want to stay the one and only might want to keep an eye on their other half's browsing history. Issa Ali, RT in London.
Now, the UN has called for an investigation into deadly clashes in Mexico during protests against educational reform. 8 people were killed and around 100 were hurt last weekend.
Ya se descargó esta, güey.
Well, those clashes broke out when riot police did try to disperse demonstrators who had blocked city streets for days. But as Caleb Moppin found out, authorities in Mexico are frequently accused of using excessive force.
Mexico's police are infamous for brutality and corruption. Unsurprisingly, polls show that the majority of Mexicans don't trust local or state police to the extent that armed vigilante groups have formed in some regions of the country to tackle drug gangs.
There's a large overlap between the cartels and the Mexican military and police. Many people on the ground in Mexico have said that the police themselves function as the most notorious gang in all of Mexico.
Despite this reputation, the U.S. continues to arm and train Mexico's police force, with billions of tax dollars and at least 45 American facilities being put forward to assist them. In 2014 alone, 5,700 Mexican police officers and soldiers received training in the United States. But the problem remains, even though some U.S. officials think the program is progressing well.
Our dialogue with Mexico is very good. We are, in fact, talking about the right things. The Mexican government is, in fact, moving in the right direction. And I believe our challenge is to ensure that we've got good coordination.
A report from a wing of the U.S. Department of Justice indicates that the Mexican drug cartels source their weapons from gun dealers and weapons manufacturers in the United States, with some cartels even being able to access automatic machine guns and grenade launchers, the kind of weapons that would be produced for the U.S. military. There have also been cases where the weapons provided to Mexican police have ended up in the hands of drug gangs.
We've seen almost zero coverage in the New York Times and in other mainstream U.S. papers precisely because they don't want to disclose the close relationship that exists between the U.S. military and the Mexican military forces. Just in the past 4 years under Plan Merida, U.S. taxpayers have sent more than $2.5 billion of our dollars to fund the Mexican military, aid to fight a drug war, which is nothing less than a war against the popular forces of Mexico.
Police brutality and corruption is not one of the issues that comes up when President Barack Obama meets his Mexican counterpart.
Welcome once again, President Peña Nieto, as well as his delegation. It's appropriate that our first meeting of the year is with one of our closest allies, neighbors, and friends.
And moreover, Mexico, a close ally and neighbor, can expect to keep receiving Washington's help in the form of weapons and money for the Mexican police force. Caleb Maupin, RT.
Thanks for being with us today. We'll have more news for you in about half an hour's time coming your way. At the moment, it is a documentary on the lives of child warriors in Africa. If you're watching us in the UK or Ireland, though, it is going underground, and that does ask why the mainstream media has ignored the fate of Christians in the Middle East.